Hi everyone, my name is Luke and I'm one of the tutors at LearnFellow LLC. Today we're going to be going over a practice test for the digital SAT. So I have this one pulled up on Bluebook right now, and without further ado, let's go ahead and begin the math section. Okay, so I'm just going to be giving you my thoughts to everything, and then I'll be solving it in the Desmos calculator that's provided with the SAT. And then I also have a whiteboard pulled up, so if we need to do some figuring right there, we can go ahead and do that. But yeah, let's go ahead and start. Okay. So first thing, I'm just gonna pull up the calculator, and make that a little bigger right there. All right. So if x equals 7, what is the value? Okay, so this is pretty easy, right? So we just sub in the value 7 into x, and then we get 7 plus 20 is 27. Okay, I'm actually gonna go ahead and move this up there. Next, given the list of values compares the mean of x and y. Okay, so first thing, we can see 5, 9, 9, 13, 5, 9, 9, 13. So the first four are the same. Data set Y, there's a 27. Um, so for the most part, I would say all these first four, they're kind of clustered together, right? And so for this one, since 27 is like way above that range, I would expect the mean to be higher for data set Y. So let's go ahead and find an answer that supports that. Mean of data set X is less than the mean of data set Y. Yeah, that's what I was saying. So mean of dataset Y is greater than X. So that would be our answer there. All right, right triangles PQR and ST are similar. Um, okay, so if the measure of Q up here is 18, what is the value of S? So first thing, we know in a triangle there's 180 degrees, right? Um, we are trying to find the value of angle S. And so since these triangles are similar, we know that they're going to have the same um, angle measures since they're similar. So we know that Q is 18, so that means T would be 18. So what we can do is, since we know that it's a right triangle, we can do subtract 90, then we can do subtract 18, and then that leaves us with the angle size of S. So 18 would be angle T, and then 90 would be U, and then that leaves us with 72 for S. Okay. Rocket contains 40, 460,000. On average, how much propellant in kilograms did the rocket burn? Okay, so um, first what we're going to do is trying to find the difference, right? So let's do 467,000 minus 362,105. That leaves us, just checking if I typed that out right. Yep. Okay, that leaves us with this number, right? So 104,895. That's how much we burned during that 21 seconds. Now we're trying to figure out how much in each second did we, like how much fuel did we burn each second. So it took 21 seconds for that number, so we can just divide by 21. That leaves us with 4,995, so that's our answer. Okay, what's the value of x plus y? This is pretty easy, so for the first one, I can just divide both sides by 4, and I get x equals 5. Then if I sub that in, or actually I don't even need to sub that in, the solution, oh yeah, I should sub that in, okay. So to get y, so since we know x equals 5, negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. So that negative 15 plus y equals negative 7. If I add 15 to both sides, I would get y equals 8. So the thing is asking us for x plus y, so 5 plus 8 is 13. Okay. Um, a certain apprentice has enrolled in 85 hours of training courses. The equation, okay, x number of on-site, where y, how many more does each online course take than the on-site? So the 85 is just representing how many hours it is, right? The X is representing the number of hours each on-site course takes as represented here. And then Y, that's the number of online training courses. So we actually don't really need to do too much to this. It's just asking how many more does each online course take than on-site. So we know that the online courses take 15 hours and then the on-site courses take 10 hours. So simply 15 minus 10 is 5. So that would be our answer. Okay. Square X has a side length of 12 centimeters. The perimeter of Y is twice the perimeter of square X. What is the length of centimeters on one side, square Y? Okay. So first, let's find the perimeter of square X. So squares have all the same four sides, right? So we can just do 12 times 4. We get 48. So that's our perimeter for X. We can start that out. X equals 48, right? The perimeter of Y is twice the perimeter of square X. So what I would do here, I would just do so 48 times 2 because that's double the perimeter, right? And so the bigger square, that would 96 would be the whole perimeter. And if we just divide that by 4, 24 would be the length of each side. So that would be the answer. Okay. The given function about how many gallons of gas are used to drive each mile. So just interpret this equation, right? So, okay, so the answer actually pretty simply would be 0.5, and so I'll explain why. So this 12.1, that's the initial amount of gas, or in this situation, from a full gas tank. And for each mile you drive, which is M, you're depleting that full tank by 0.05. So that's how many gallons are used to drive each mile. So that's kind of like the slope. And so yeah, that answer would be 0.05. Okay. What is the positive value of, okay. So we just need to take that absolute value equation and just first solve it. So I would actually recommend knowing this because these can be a little tricky sometimes, but first let's go ahead and solve it. So 4x minus 4 equals 112. This is the simple version. The other way of doing this absolute value would actually be negating the whole thing. But I don't think we really want to have a negative x value, so I'm just gonna, let's do this first, the regular version, right? So let's solve. So 4, add 4 to both sides, 4x equals 116, and then 116 divided by 4 is 29. 29, be careful here, it's asking us x minus 1. The positive value, 29 minus 1 is 28. And so that would be the answer there. And then just for the fun, let's see if this was negative. Negative. So we would have negative 4x plus 4 equals 112. We would subtract 4 this time, so that would be negative 4x equals 108. And then we would divide 108 divided by negative 4. That gets us a negative 27. And so negative 27 minus this negative 1 would be negative 28. That's incorrect though because it's asking for the positive value. So yeah, the answer would be positive 28. Okay. Expresses x in terms of y, b and y. Okay, so basically manipulate this equation so you have x by itself, right? So first thing I would do, just multiply y on both sides of the equation. So if we multiply by y over 1 like that on both sides, you would get y over 7b equals 11x, right? Because we're just canceling out that y. Now I want to divide by, or actually I would multiply by 1/11 to cancel out this and get the x by itself. So what I would do here is just, this could go away. Okay, there we go. If I could do that to both sides, um, 1/11th. You get the idea. But essentially this side would cancel out, so it would be x equals 1/77b. And that would be our answer. Sorry, y equals 77b because 1 times y. My fault. Okay, so y equals 77b. Okay. The table shows four values. There's a linear relationship that's defined where m is a constant. What's the value of m? Okay, so we're trying to find the slope here, right? And this is actually where Desmos starts to shine a little bit. So let's open the table here. First thing I'm going to do is plug in all these values. So 10, 80, 82, 15, 137. You really only need two of these because it's linear, so it goes down by the same amount, right? And then what we would do here is type in linear regression. Now what you'll see is that the y-intercept -28 matches up with the -28, and it automatically just gives us the slope. So m equals 11. Pretty easy, just a Desmos hack there. Okay, what is the value of b? So this equation simplified gets you to there. And then, so the b is the coefficient to the x cubed term. So what I'd actually just do is you would get, just for the cubes, because the other part doesn't matter for b, 5x cubed minus -4x cubed. That's the same thing as adding 4x cubed, and then you'd be left with 9x cubed, right? So the value of b would be 9. That's our answer. Okay. Of the point x 53 is a solution, which of the following could be value of x? Okay, same thing. Let's just use Desmos. So all I'm going to do, plug in the equations or the inequalities. Y is great. Okay, yeah. So we know the y value has to be 53, right? So 53 is, all the way up here somewhere. Which of the following could be the value of x? So if we see 53 up here, we need to see where both of them are shading in this purplish green color, right? I'm looking, I think -9 might work. So what I could just do is -9, 53. And as you can see, it's just inside of those two shaded lines, so that would be the answer. Whereas like the other ones, they have like one shaded area or none or whatever. But yeah. Okay. Bacteria are growing in a liquid at 300. Okay, how many cells will there be 15 hours? Okay, so for this one, I'm just gonna do the lazy way, just multiply it out, right? So doubles every 3 hours. So they're starting off with 300,000 cells, right? So in 3 hours, this 300,000 will double to 600,000. Let's put the commas there for easy. Okay, that's 3 hours, right? Another 3 hours, it's gonna go to 1.2 million, right? And that's 6 hours. That's gonna go to 2.4 million in 9 hours. Then 4.8 million in 12 hours, and then 9.6 in 15. So as you can see, I'm just basically doubling this every 3. And so once we're at 15 hours, we're at 9.6. That's our answer. Okay. Graph gives the estimated number of catalogs in thousands. Companies sent to its customers. Or X represents the number of years since the end, 1992. Okay, so what's the best interpretation of the y-intercept? So the y-intercept here, okay, so essentially this x-axis, it's like how many years after the end of 1992. So 1 year after 1992, 4 years after 1992, that sort of thing, right? At in 1992 at the end of the year, they sold 9 in thousand, so 9,000, right? So yeah, that would be our answer actually. So at the end of 1992, they sold 9,000. So let's find something according to that. Yeah, the estimated number of catalogs the company sent to its customers at the end of 1992 was 9,000. So that would be our answer. Okay. Which is equivalent? Okay, so first thing I see is that, okay, so actually before we even get to that, they're trying to convert this into a fractional exponent, right? So what I like to say is, it's like a phrase that my math teacher taught me actually, but power over index, right? So we see that the power of both of these x and y's are 9, right? So the power is 9, power over the index, and we can see the index right here, 7. And since they're both raised to the 9th power, and then they're trying to take the 7th root of it, it's the same thing. So we can just do that as our exponent. So we can just do xy power over index, 9 over 7. That's our answer. Okay. The population of A increased by 7%. The population of K, if the 2016 population is K times the 2015. Okay, so this one would actually be 1.07. So here real quick, let's say we have 100 people in 2015, right? Increased by 7%. That's the same thing as saying 7% of 100 is 7, so that'd be 107 in 2016, right? So the question is basically asking what times this 2015 number gets this 107, and the answer would be times 1.07 because it's the same amount, but the population increased, so just add that 7. It's kind of part of that 1 plus n number. So 1 is just existing, and then n is the rate, so it's the 7% rate, so it would be that, 1.07. Okay, which of the following has no solution? Okay, this again, just graph it out. So x equals 3, y equals 5. This has got to have a solution, right? Yep. Intersect right there, that's not it. So you can cross that out. And so actually, before even going through all of these, we know that for something to not have a solution, they need to be parallel, right? If two lines are parallel, that means they have the same slope. And so those don't even have a slope, right? So these slopes are different. These slopes are the same. So because they're the same, they're never going to intersect. So I can even graph that out. 16x plus 3. Okay, and see, look at that. Just parallel, right? Goes on forever parallel because the slopes are the same, never intersect. All right, first term of each sequence, 9. Okay, so the first term is 9. So we're playing with these sequencing things, right? So a geometric sequence. First thing I'm going to say here is that each term is 4 times the preceding term. So it's a factor of 4. And the factor is going to be inside the parentheses, so it has to be 4. So we know the top 2 can't be it. Now we're left with these two. And essentially all we need to do is we know that the first term of the sequence has to be 4. So if I do 9 times 4 times 4 to the n, so the first term, n represents the term. So the first term, we know that can't be it because it's 36. Whereas if I do this one, 4 times 1 minus 1, because n is 1, right? It gets me 9. So we know that's the correct answer because the first term we know. Okay. minimum value of x is 12 less than 6 times another number. The minimum value, so x has to be at least that minimum value or greater. So we know that it has to be a greater than sign. So let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. So the minimum value, so greater than or equal to, right, is 12 less than 6 times. So 6 times n, 6 times another number, 12 less than that. So 6n minus 12. That's their answer. Okay. The side lengths of RST are given. RST is similar to UVW, where S corresponds to what is the value of tangent W. Okay. So real quick. So if they're telling us to do tangent, that means it has to be a Pythagorean theorem, right? So 48 squared, same thing as that. Square root of 2704. Right, so the first thing you do, like just right off the bat, they're telling us to use tangent. That means this has to be a right triangle because these properties only work for right triangles, unless you're doing like law of cosines or law of sines or whatever. But generally, if you're working with SOHCAHTOA, then it's got to be a right triangle. So I can actually pull this out real quick and draw this out. So we know that the two legs, the two shorter sides, have to be 20. Sorry for this bad illustration. And 52. 20, 48, 52, right? So we know RS, and then this has to be T, right? Because it says RS is 20, so this is 20. ST is 48, TR is 52, right? So we have that. Triangle RST is similar to UVW. What is the value of tangent W? Okay. This is all like, fluff, essentially. But so tangent W, so W corresponds to, actually, one second. T corresponds to, yeah, okay. So W, right, corresponds to T. So what is the tangent of T? So tangent is opposite, so SOHCAHTOA, OA is opposite over adjacent, so 20 over 48. So 20 over 48, that's the same thing as that. And then if we convert that to fractions, it's 5/12. Okay. The graph of translated down 4 units. What is the result? Okay. Let's just graph this out, right? Minus 10y equals 19. That's that, right? This is the current line. What I would literally just do is just move this down 4. So here. So that's the original equation in purple. 9x minus 10y equals 19 minus 4. And as you can see, wait, hold up. You know what? I don't want to confuse anyone, so let's just solve this out real quick. So 10y equals 9x minus 19. Divide by 10, y equals 9/10 x minus 19/10. Boom. So that is our equation. Just double checking we did everything right there. Yeah, looks good. Okay. All we need to do, translate that down for minus 4, right? And then what is the x-intercept? Just look here, tap this, 6.556. Pretty sure this is 6 and 5/11 or something, but 6.555. Okay, so actually, I should be good actually just to type this in, literally as it says. So 6.5, yeah, I can just round it like that. What is the x coordinate? Yeah, that should be fine. Not tenths. Yeah, so I'm just double checking, but that should be good. So all I just did is just solve that out into y equals mx plus b. I know it's translated down 4 units, so subtract 4 from the y-intercept because that'll move it down. Then I just find the x point, and then, yeah, I just type that in there. All right, pretty easy. Let's go on to the next module. Oops. And yeah, all the questions are answered there. Okay. Okay, second module, let's go. There are 55 students in Spanish club. Those responded 20% responded they intend to enroll in the study program. Okay, so intend to enroll is 20%. So again, let's get this calculator up. 20%, 55. All we need to do is 55 times 0.2, 11. So that's the amount of people who intend to enroll, just 20% of that. Machine makes large or small boxes one at a time. Total of 700 minutes each day. Takes the machine 10 minutes. Okay, so what's the equation essentially? So large boxes are represented by x, so it's got to be 10x and then 5y, right? So essentially what I did here, 700 minutes is the total. Then you have 10x, so 10 minutes per large box x, 5 minutes per small box y. Just add those up and you get 700 minutes, and that's your answer. Okay, just try to find the equation of this line. So I see it has a y-intercept of positive, so just get rid of those two real quick. Line clearly goes down over time, slope has to be negative. That's the answer. What is the value of d? Okay, so y is 4, right? So basically just go like that. Okay. Conveniently, they gave us like everything in the same thing. Okay, so 7 over 2 is just 3.5, right? 26 divided by 7, 3.7. 24 divided by 7, 3.42. 27, 8 is that. Okay, actually, you know what? Instead of doing that, let's just do a table to get this exact stuff. I'm not trying to like squint. We know points 0, 7 because of this point, and then this has to be 8, 0. So those are the 2 points we have. Put that into linear regression. That's our equation, right? Now, let's just say this is what I'm going to do here actually. It's a little bit of a shortcut. So I know this is the equation, right? I know y equals 4, so sub that in for that. I want to figure out what the x value is. So what I'm going to do is put this into a tilde form. So now it'll just solve. So actually I can't do that. So I'll just change it to a. Now this has to be 3.42. So essentially what I did, just put the points in. It gives you the equation. Just solve for this equation because we know y's got to be 4, and I just solve it with this tilde setup. So now we just need to figure out what equals 3.42. Is it 26 divided by 7? Nope. 24 divided by 7. Yes. So that would be our answer. Okay. For the quadratic, which defines f? All right, same thing. So -1, 10, 0, 14, 1, 20. And actually this has to be a quadratic regression just because it says a quadratic. So you change that to quadratic. So which equation defines f? It just gives it out to us. So that one, we're done. The function f is defined by f of x equals x plus 15 over 5. Of a equals 10. What is the value of a? So again, I'm just going to do this tilde setup. It's pretty easy. So let's do a plus 15. And I'll probably make a future video about this, but I can't use x here. I would have to do x sub 1 just because it just doesn't let you in this tilde setup. So x plus 15, I know that has to equal 10. Gives me a, and a has to be 35, so this x has to be 35, so that's my answer. All right. In the figure, x, y, what is the value of z? Okay, so bit of geometry, a little bit of geometry here, but x and y, we know these have to be the same angle because this line M is kind of like a transversal through line T. So we know that x and y have to be vertical angles, so they have to be the same. So what I can do is just set, again, I'm using this tilde setup to my advantage, so I don't have to do stuff, divided by 8k minus 29. So we have this, right? Now it just tells us k is 21 straight up. So all I need to do here is figure out what the value of z is. So since I know k is 21, I can just sub this into one of these equations. Let's do x. So, 6 times 21 plus 13 equals 139, right? Z is along this line, so on the opposite. So if this is z over here, that would correspond to like this white space here. So since I know that x is that, I also know that these two white spaces between here are also vertical angles, just because x and y are as well. So what I can do is 180, because that's supplementary here, right? 180-degree angle for a flat line, minus 139 equals 41. That is the value of z. Okay. Line P is defined by 2y plus 18. It's perpendicular. What is the slope? Okay. So let's get this into y equals mx plus b form. 2y equals, subtract 18x from both sides, plus 9, right? Then what I'm going to do is divide by 2. Y equals negative 18 over 2x plus 9 over 2. Yep, they're the same. Boom. Okay. Find the line R perpendicular. So 18 over 2 is the same thing as 9, right? So that's the line we have. Perpendicular, it has to be positive in the reciprocal, so negative reciprocal of the slope. So that would be the same thing as 1 over 9 plus x plus 9 over 2. Just like that, it's perpendicular. So just to find the perpendicular slope, just take the negative reciprocal. That's what it is. What is the slope? So it's 1/9. That's their answer. Boom. Okay. What is the mass? Okay, density. Okay, this is pretty easy, right? So density equals mass divided by volume, right? We know the density is 807. That equals, actually I can just use the tilde setup again just to have it solve for me so I don't have to multiply everything out. Use a again. And so volume, we know each length of this cube is each side of the length of the cube is 0.09 or 0.9, right? So what I can do is to find the volume 0.9 cubed, and yeah, so my A value, what's it telling me to find? My mass, right, is 588. So just round that, and that's my answer. The function P, n% every 18 months. Okay, so every 18 months, it's going to increase. So, okay, so every 18 months, that's basically this factor up here, right? So, um, 1 second. Oh yeah, so every 18 months, it's gonna increase by that much, right? So we're trying to find what is the percent increase every 18 months. So T is the number of years, right? And so every 18 months, it's gonna go up 4%. And I know this because kind of what I said earlier about the whole 1 plus the rate thing. Since it increases and it increases by this, well, that's the exponent, which tells us like increase in the 18 months, it goes up by this 4%. Yeah, it's just like a rate thing. So, it goes up by 4% every 18 months. Yeah, that's all I can say really. Okay, in the given equation, k and n constants, n is greater than 1, has no solution. Huh. Okay, so if I see they have no solution, that means I need to get the slopes to be the same, right? So 2 times k has to be, I can just use a tilde again, negative 28/15. K gives me that. What is the value of k? Can I put this into a negative 0? Oh wait, negative 0.93333. Okay, actually I can just do one of those typing situations again. 0.9333. But yeah, so all this is doing basically is if it has no solution, I know these x values just have to go away. And for it to go away, I need to have them be the same thing. So, oh wait, this is the same thing as 14/15, isn't it? Okay, yeah. So we can just change it to 14/15. So basically, I know k times 2 has to be negative 28/15. So I've set it up like that. This is going to solve it by itself, and it's going to tell me what k is. And k is that, and that's 14/15. But yeah, okay. A gift shop buys souvenirs at a wholesale price of $7, resells them at 290%, and the season 80%. Okay, this is a fun one, I guess. So 290%, right? Um, so we have these $7 things, um, and then they're marked up by 290% of that wholesale price. So what I would basically do here is that like if I'm trying to like run through this in my head, I know say I have like 50% of the price, that would give me like half off of that. If I know something's 100% of the price, I'm paying like the full price. If I'm paying 200%, I'm paying double the price. And then if I'm paying 290%, that's even more, right? So I would just multiply this by 2.9. because if I multiply it by 100%, that's the same thing as 1. If I multiplied it by 2, that's the same thing as 200% to like double the price, and then I'm just multiplying by 2.9. Therefore, okay, so that's the price after they mark it up, right? So 20.3. At the end of the season, any souvenirs are marked at a discount price 80% off the retail price. So this is the retail price, right? Now they have an 80% discount, so I'm only paying 20% of that price. So just times by 0.2, and I get $4 of the discounted price. So any remaining, oh yeah, the discounted price would be $4.06. Sorry, I got confused if they were trying to ask us for something else. But yeah, so just multiply by that 290%, then just 20% of that because it's an 80% discount. Okay, in the given equation, no real solutions. What is the least possible value of n? So this is actually going to be a discriminant question, right? So b squared minus 4ac. So I know b squared is 34 squared. Well, negative 34 squared, but like same thing because you're squaring a negative number. And then minus 4 times 1a times c, right? This has to be less than 0 because there's no solutions, right? So wait a second. Actually, what we could do, let's say like we didn't know. Plus c. C is a slider. So we have this oh my gosh. We have this quadratic, right? And we just need to find, like, if it doesn't have a solution, that just means it doesn't hit this x-intercept. So let's put this at like 5. Let's do 500, right? If I just drag the slider, eventually it's not going to touch. And that means it has no solutions. So c is a constant. The equation has no real solutions if c is greater than n. So if c is 290, for example. Actually, let's do 289. So 289, this has one solution. 290, this now has no solution. So anything above this 289, it doesn't have a solution, right? So what is the least possible value of n? So no real solutions if c. Okay, so sorry, if c is anywhere greater than 289, it's not going to have any solutions, right? Because 290, for example, it doesn't have it. 289.5 doesn't have it, right? So the least possible value would be 289 because anything greater than that, it has no solution. But yeah, that's the lazy way of doing it. Okay, data set A. Okay, so find the mean essentially. This is pretty easy. So what I'm going to do, it says 75 buildings, right? 75 times the 32, 2400. And then 50 times 62. So just finding like the averages and bringing them together. So add those up. That should give us 5,500. Divide that by 125. Average height is 44. Boom. Okay, the expression can be written Which of the following has to be an integer? Okay, so okay, so k times j have to be negative 45. And k and j have to be integers. So it's got to be 45 divided by k because k times j has to be 45, negative 45, so it has to be a factor. So that's easy. Okay, one distinct real solution. So let's graph this out real quick. Y equals negative 1.5. Y equals, that means these intersect exactly one time. Add a slider A. So that would be this thing, right? It's again just the lazy way of doing it. One solution, that means this parabola touches that line exactly once. 14.5 seems to be 14.5. A is 14.5. Yes, I'm just playing with that. Okay. Data plot represents 15 values. Dataset A, dataset B is created by adding 56. Which of the following compares the median and the range? Okay, so if you're adding 56 to each of these values, median is obviously gonna go up, right? This is gonna be like 60. So median of dataset B can't be equal, gotta be greater. And the range has to be equal because you're just bringing the bottom up by 56, bringing the top up by 56, same thing. So it's the same range. But yeah. Okay, which hmm. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is so it's telling us to find this new function g. And so basically you have f of x, right? And you're bringing that more to the left, shifting that to the left 4 units. So let's take this point, negative 10, negative 1. If I put in the new point, which would be, because I'm shifting it to the left, negative 14, negative 1, that would be the new point. So whatever I put in for this, any of these equations, it has to give you, if you plug in the x value, it has to give you negative 1. I'm already looking at this one actually because if I do 6 divided by negative 14 plus 8, negative 1. So this has to be the answer just because, I shift this over for negative 10, 1 now becomes negative 14, 1. All I do is just sub this new point in. So this would be negative 14 plus 8. That's the same thing as 6 divided by negative 6. And then that gives you negative 1. Okay. Give an equation. Product of solutions is KAB. Okay. So this is actually one of those things, a shortcut I would recommend you knowing. So product of solutions is always C divided by A. So what I'm going to do here is product of solutions, same thing as, so the C term would be AB, A term would be 57. This is equivalent to KAB. So now I just need to figure out what K is. So if I divide by AB, these, the ABs would actually just go away, and K is just 1/57th. So that would be the answer there. Okay. The graph of is a circle. What is the length of the circle's radius? Okay, let's just put this in Desmos again. Okay, so I just graphed this out, right? And that's my circle. And be careful, don't get fooled by like these automatic points here. So like if you see this one on the y-axis, because that's not actually the diameter, it's like some thing when it intersects. So I'm going to look at these points, right? These look like the widest points. 0, negative 9.5, and then negative 10.5. So actually what I just do is I have 9.5, right? So I'm going to put 9.5 because that's just the y coordinate of this. The y coordinate of this is negative 10.5. So 10.5. I get 20. Now the radius, so I just got the diameter by doing that, right? Because 9.5 up here, negative 10.5 down there. If I add those up, I get the diameter of 20. Now the radius is half the diameter, right? So 20 divided by 2 is 10. And 10 would be the radius. That's a lot of reading. Two identical prisms have a height 90. The base, okay, so I think we're gonna need to draw this out. So essentially, be prepared for the bad drawing, but we have a 3D looking thing, right? And the 3D looking prism, and they're glued together. So there's like two of these essentially, right? It's trying to tell us to find the surface area. So we know the formula. I'm just gonna move this over here. We know the formula for this is, for a prism, is length times width times height, right? We know the height is 90. Height is 90, right? And then the base, the surface, the base is a square. But they don't tell us that. So it's got to be 90 times s, so s squared, right? That's the, wait, hold up. I just did the volume, my fault. So it would be the surface area for one of those prism. So it would be, you have s times 90, right? And you have four of those, because you have four sides of the prism. And then you have the two bases. So this would actually just be 360 s plus s 2s squared. So I have the two tops and then 4 times 90. Yeah, so that's the whole side. The base of each prism is a square surface area. So, okay, surface area, this is just all K. So each prism is that. If the prisms are glued together, the resulting prism has a surface area of that. Okay, so, okay, you're gluing the prisms, right? The square part of it in the middle, that doesn't count the surface area because if you glue them together, you're only counting the sides. So what you would do here is you would do 2K minus the two sides, right? So minus 2s squared equals 92 divided by 47. Just bear with me, it's gonna make sense, I promise. Oh, this also just 2K, not squaring, my fault. Because you have two of those prisms and then two of those sides, right? So what I would do first is subtract these, like the 92 over 47, and then that would get me, what, 2/47? 2/47 K equals 2s squared. Then what would I do here? So did that. Oh, I know K, that's the same thing as, um, well, actually, let's just multiply this by 47. I don't like this denominator, right? So that's 2. And then 47 times that 2 is 94. S squared. 2K, that's the same thing as 360 S plus 2S squared, right? Um, yes. Okay, so I just subbed that in, right? Then this has got to be the same thing as 4S squared plus 720S. Oh, okay. So yeah, just bear with me. So 4S, so I'm just multiplying that 4S squared plus 720S equal to 940S squared, right? Then um if I bring this all over, I would be left with 90 and subtract 90S squared minus 720S. Factor out the 90. Oh my gosh. I'll be left with S times 90S times S minus 8. And so my base, if I'm not mistaken, would be 8, right? So 2k minus 2s squared equals 90. I'm just double checking now. 2k, so what did I do here? So, 2k. Okay, we'll just leave that there for now. I might have did something wrong there. Okay, if the vertex of the parabola is written in the form where a, b are constants, which of the following could have been the value of a, b, c? Okay, so what I would do here, okay, so let's put, well, actually, yeah, let's put this into vertex form x minus 9 squared. Oh my gosh, I can't type right now. Minus 14, right? And then so we expand that x squared minus 18x plus 81 minus 14. That's the same thing as that, right? So a plus b plus c, this is the whole c term, by the way. A plus b, so 1 minus 18. Oh wait, shoot, I forgot this, the a term. I knew, okay. I forgot something there. All right, so this is going to be a minus 18a plus the whole, that term, 81a minus 14, right? And so since this a, okay, the vertex is below the x-axis, right? So the a needs to be positive so it opens up. So I think what I could do if I just, the tilde method, and then this a needs to be positive, so that can't be it. 19. Oh, okay. 19, no. Let's go to 12. And that's the only one that's positive, right? Yeah. So this a value, since it opens up, it needs to be positive, right? So negative 12 is the only one that satisfies that part. Okay. Oh, why did I delete everything here? I'm so dumb. There's no way to, oh wait. Might just have to go back a bunch right here. My days. Okay, never mind. That's not going to work. I feel like we did this right. we're running out of time here, but we'll see. 2k squared. It's got to be 2k minus the s squared equals 92 over 47k, right? And then if you do that, it's got to be 247k equals s squared, and this has got to be 2k. Okay, I think we might have messed this one up. So 2k, and then k is, what is that? That's like 2s squared plus 360s equals 47s squared 47 360s 4s. Yeah, I think I just messed this one up. Okay, let's leave it at 8. We'll see. Okay, I think that was a pretty good run. I'm just not confident about that one problem. But yeah, okay. Okay, I just pulled up the results, and so obviously I skipped this. But we got, for math, 1 wrong. That's pretty good. So, which one did we miss? It's definitely going to be that one, isn't it? Oh no, I did get that one right. Okay, sweet. Number 11. The equation has no solution. I'm going to be so mad if I forgot a negative. Oh yeah, I just forgot the negative. Okay. So yeah, this should have been negative 14/15. Yeah, it's because, so obviously I mentioned before, the slopes have to be the same for it to cancel out, right? Um, so this has to be negative 14/15 for k, because 2 times negative 14/15 would get you negative 28/15. And then since they're the same, the slopes would just cancel out. Yeah, but I just forgot to put the negative there, which is unfortunate, but it's fine. But yeah, that's pretty good though. Just a silly mistake there. Happy we got that one problem right at the bottom, even though I was not too confident about that. But yeah, other than that, pretty good. But yeah. All right, thank you for watching today's video. Really appreciate you hanging in there and making it. I know this is a pretty long video already, but um, I'm glad we got a good workout in, and yeah, hope to see you in the next one. So we actually run a tutoring company for Learn Fellow, as I've said before, and we actually help students receive their dream ACT and SAT score. So feel free to hit the link in the description to partner with us and come on the journey with us so that you can get your dream score. I'll definitely be coming out with more videos on this though in the future with like SAT tips and ACT tips, especially with Desmos, since I know we used a lot of those on this, and I know these could definitely come in clutch later. But yeah, thanks for watching today's video. Appreciate it, and have a nice day.